Something was wrong with her little boy. Emma felt it before anyone else did. The doctors said he was fine. Friends said it was just a phase. A few people quietly suggested that maybe she needed to be stricter, but Emma knew her son. She had known him since the moment he took his first breath. And the child now throwing himself onto the floor, screaming until his face turned red, clawing at his own skin because someone gave him the wrong colored cup. That was not the child she recognized anymore. His name was Noah. He was 3 years old, and for 6 weeks, Emma had been living inside a mystery she could not explain. Every day felt like walking into a storm she could not predict. Some mornings, Noah was the sweet little boy who pressed his nose against hers and whispered, "I love you, Mummy," without being asked. Other mornings, something shifted. A spoon, a cup, the wrong shirt, and suddenly, the screaming started, the kind that left them both on the floor, Noah exhausted, Emma broken. Wondering how they had ended up here again, she had tried everything, read everything, asked everyone. And every night, after Noah fell asleep, she sat with her phone and typed the question she was too ashamed to say out loud to anyone who knew her. What am I doing wrong? But what Emma discovered on a Thursday afternoon in an ordinary car park would completely change the way she understood her son. For Beacons, the problem was never Noah, and if you have ever watched your child fall apart over something that made no sense, and felt that quiet, terrifying thought, in that maybe it was somehow your fault. It all started with a simple, blue cup. There are days you remember, not because they were special, but because something inside them cracked open and nothing was quite the same afterwards. For Emma, that day was a Tuesday in February. It had actually started well. Noah had slept through the night for the first time in weeks. Breakfast had been calm, toast, a little jam. He had sat at his small table and eaten without a single negotiation. Emma had stood at the kitchen sink, with her coffee going warm in her hands, thinking, maybe we have turned a corner. Maybe the worst of it is behind us. She poured his juice into the blue cup. Noah wanted the red one. What happened in the next 4 seconds happened so fast. Emma barely registered it. Noah looked at the cup. His face changed, not gradually, not with warning, but all at once, like a switch thrown in a dark room, and then he was gone. Screaming, not crying, screaming. The kind of sound that does not seem like it should be able to come from something so small. He threw himself backwards onto the floor. He had not. He was already kicking, arching his back, face dark red, hands clawing at his own arms. Emma knelt down next to him. She tried reasoning. Noah, it is just a cup. Look, it is the same juice. It tastes exactly the same. He could not hear her. She tried distraction. Look, shall we go and find your dinosaurs? He could not hear her. She tried. Consequences. Noah, if you do not stop right now, we are not going to the park this afternoon. He could not hear her. She tried holding him. He fought her. She tried giving him space. He screamed louder. She tried staying calm. She tried getting firm. She cycled through everything she had ever read, been told, or instinctively reached for. 45 minutes before it was over. When it finally ended, Noah climbed into her lap like nothing had happened. Buried his face in her neck, his breathing still shaky, but slowing. His little body heavy and spent. Within 3 minutes he was asleep. Emma sat on the kitchen floor holding him, her back against the cupboard, the blue cup still on the table, exactly where she had left it. Here is what nobody tells you about having a child who struggles. The hardest part is not the meltdowns themselves. The hardest part is the noise that comes afterwards. The noise from everyone around you who has an opinion, and not enough information, and far too much confidence in what you should be doing differently. Emma heard all of it. He just needs more discipline. You are too soft with him. You give in too easily. Have you tried being more consistent? My children never did that. He is just strong-willed. It is actually a good thing. Maybe he needs to see someone. Boys are just like that at this age. You need to show him who is boss. Have you tried a reward chart? She tried the reward chart. She tried being firmer. She tried being softer. She tried earlier bedtimes and more outside time, and less screen time, and more one-on-one time, and a different morning routine, and a different evening routine. Nothing worked. The meltdowns kept coming. Over the wrong episode of his favorite show. Over a sandwich cut into squares when he wanted triangles. Over arriving at the park. Over things so random and so small that Emma started to do something far more dangerous than searching for answers. She started looking inward. What am I doing wrong? Why can other mothers manage this? And I cannot. What is it about me that is making him like this? And once that thought takes root, once a parent starts genuinely believing that they are the problem, it poisons everything. Every interaction, every response, every moment of the day, filtered through the quiet conviction that you are failing your child in some fundamental way you cannot even name. Emma carried that weight for 6 weeks. She did not put it down until a Thursday afternoon, in a car park, himself. Shoulders tight, eyes slightly glazed, movements too fast and too rigid all at once. She had learned to read him the way you learn to read weather. You do not wait for the storm to arrive. You watch for the signs before it does. She reached for his hand and felt him flinch. They made it to the car park. She opened the back door and reached for his seatbelt, and something. She genuinely cannot remember what. Some detail too small to name. Something went wrong, and Noah detonated. Right there. In the middle of the car park, in front of everyone. Emma looked up and saw faces turning. A woman pulling her own child away slightly. The particular cruelty of being completely visible in your worst moment. She tried everything she had, all of it. In the space of 2 minutes, she cycled through every tool she possessed, and watched every single one fail. And then something broke open in her. Not Noah. Emma. She sat down on the ground, next to the car, right there on the tarmac, and she cried. Not quietly, the way you cry when something has been waiting too long to come out. The way you cry when you are out of ideas, and out of energy, and out of the story you had been telling yourself about being able to handle this. She did not hear the woman approach. She was just suddenly there, sitting down on the ground beside Emma, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Older, maybe 60, silver hair, kind face. She did not offer a tissue, or a piece of advice, or a reassuring smile. She just sat, present, unhurried, like she had nowhere else to be, and nothing more important to do than be exactly here. When Emma finally looked up, the woman met her eyes, and said something quietly. He is not giving you a hard time, and his brain, his actual developing brain, genuinely cannot do anything about it yet. Emma stared at her. What do you mean his brain cannot do anything about it? What this woman said next was something no doctor had told Emma. No health visitor, no parenting book, no search result at midnight. In 6 weeks of desperate searching, Emma had never once come across what she was about to hear, sitting on the ground in a car park, on an ordinary Thursday afternoon. It was the one piece of information that explained everything. And it was about to change the entire way Emma understood her son. The woman's name was Patricia. She was a retired child psychologist, 32 years working with children. and the parents who were doing their absolute best to understand them. She had seen thousands of Emmas, thousands of Noahs, and she had sat with more parents than she could count, who were carrying exactly the weight Emma was carrying right now. She started with a question. Do you know what the prefrontal cortex is? Emma shook her head. Patricia explained. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that sits just behind your forehead. It is responsible for everything we think of as self-control, the ability to manage big emotions, to pause before reacting, to hear reason when everything inside you wants to scream, to make a conscious choice rather than just have an automatic response. In adults, it is reasonably developed, not perfect. Any adult who has ever said something they immediately regretted knows it is not perfect, but functional enough to intervene, most of the time. In a 3-year-old, it is not just underdeveloped, it is barely online. The brain of a toddler is essentially a feeling machine, with no off switch and no volume control. When something triggers a big emotion, frustration, disappointment, overwhelm, even excitement, there is no developed internal mechanism to regulate it. No pause button, just the feeling, at full volume. All at once, Patricia looked at Emma carefully. When Noah is in the middle of a meltdown, she said, when he is screaming and you cannot reach him, what do you usually do? Emma told her. Everything. The reasoning, the consequences, the firm voice, the patient voice, the holding, the space. Patricia nodded slowly. No. Do you know why? Emma shook her head. Because during a meltdown, Emma, during full emotional flooding, the language centers of the brain go offline. The rational thinking centers go offline. The part of the brain that receives instruction goes offline. Your son was not choosing to ignore you. He was not being defiant, or manipulative, or deliberately difficult. He literally could not hear you. His brain had gone into complete survival mode, and there was nobody home to receive what you were saying. Emma felt something shift in her chest. You were talking to a part of his brain that was not there, Patricia said quietly, like trying to have a conversation with someone who has lost consciousness. The words were real. The effort, the love behind every single attempt was absolutely real, but there was nowhere for any of it to land. Emma sat with that for a long moment. So what do you do, she asked finally, if you cannot reason with them, and you cannot reach them? What do you actually do? Patricia smiled. You become the signal, she said. And then she explained something called co-regulation. The idea that a child's nervous system, still raw, still unfinished, still learning how to exist in a world full of overwhelming things, cannot regulate itself yet. It does not have the wiring, but it can borrow regulation from a calm adult, who is physically close. A child's brain is constantly scanning its environment, a steady, calm, safe signal to lock onto and use as an anchor when everything inside feels like chaos. When Emma was tense and activated and scared, her signal showed red, weak, broken, unreachable. Noah's brain searched desperately for something calm to connect to, and found nothing. The storm had nowhere to go but longer and harder. When Emma was present and breathing and still, her signal turned green, strong, steady, reliable, and Noah's flooded nervous system finally had something safe to reach for and hold on to. You cannot regulate a dysregulated child from a dysregulated body, Patricia said. You have to become what you want them to find. Emma looked across the car park at Noah. He had worn himself completely out and was now sitting against the car tire, eyes half closed, chest still hitching with the last of it. She had spent 6 weeks trying to stop the storm. Nobody had ever told her she just needed to stand in it. Calm, still, present, a signal strong enough for him to. That evening, Emma did not try to change everything. She changed one thing. She decided that the next time a meltdown came, she would not try to stop it, fix it, reason with it, or escape from it. She would get on the floor, stay close, breathe slowly, and become the signal. She did not have to wait long. The next afternoon, Noah woke from his nap already wound. She could hear it before she even opened his door. That particular quality of crying that is not tired crying, or hurt crying, but something bigger. Something that had been building while he slept, and was now looking for a way out. His shoes would not go on the right way. Emma felt the familiar cold dread start to rise in her chest. She took one breath. She sat down on the floor of his bedroom, not standing over him, not pulling him up, not talking, just down on the floor. At his level, present, Noah screamed. He kicked his shoes across the room. He threw himself sideways, and lay there with his face pressed into the carpet, making sounds that would have sent Emma spiraling 6 weeks ago. She breathed, slowly, deliberately, keeping her shoulders down, keeping her face soft, keeping her body from doing what every instinct was screaming at her to do, which was to fix this, stop this, end this right. Now she breathed, and stayed, and waited. 4 minutes in, she said it once. The screaming became crying. The crying became whimpering. The whimpering became long, shaky silence. 11 minutes after it started, Noah crawled across the bedroom floor and climbed into Emma's lap. His whole body was heavy with exhaustion. His face blotched and wet. He smelled of sleep and tears, and that particular sweetness that only very small children have. He looked up at her. "Sorry, Mummy," he said. Emma pulled him close, pressed her lips to the top of his head, and said the thing she wished someone had told her 6 weeks earlier. "You do not need to be sorry, baby. Your feelings are allowed here. Every single one of them. 11 minutes. Not 45. 11. Emma sat on that bedroom floor holding her son, and felt something she had not felt in 6 weeks. Not really. Understanding. And understanding, as it turned out, was the most powerful thing she had ever brought into that room. Emma did not solve the meltdowns overnight. Noah is 4 now, and they still come sometimes. The prefrontal cortex does not finish developing until a human being is in their mid-20s. Nobody tells you that either. But Emma meets them differently now. She does not wake up with dread on her chest before she has even opened her eyes. She does not spiral at midnight. She does not carry the weight of believing she is the problem. She has 5 things she did not have before, and she wants you to have them too. First, get on the floor. The moment a meltdown begins, get down, not standing over them, not pulling them toward you. Down on the floor, at their level, without hesitation. Your body at their level communicates one thing that no word can communicate during a meltdown. I am not a threat. I am not leaving. You are safe with me right now, even though nothing feels safe. The nervous system receives that message, even when the brain cannot process language. Get on the floor. Every single time. Second, say less. During a meltdown, the language centers of the brain are offline. Every sentence you speak is going into silence. Every explanation, every warning, every negotiation is wasted breath. 2 sentences. Spoken once. Spoken quietly. I am here. I have got you. Then wait. The talking happens after the storm. Third, Regulate yourself first. You cannot be the signal if your own system is firing. Before you respond, even if it is just 1 second, take 1 breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 1 breath shifts your nervous system from reaction to response. And that shift in you creates the only possible conditions for a shift in your child. Regulate yourself first. Every time. 4th. Name the feeling after, not during after, when the storm has passed, and your child is calm and back in their body. Sit close and put language to what happened. You felt really frustrated when we had to leave the park. That feeling got so big, it took over your whole body. That happens sometimes. That naming builds something called emotional literacy over time. It teaches your child that feelings have names, that feelings are survivable, that feelings do not have to explode outward, because they can be spoken outward instead. That lesson, learned quietly, after the storm, in moments exactly like this one. 5th, find the pattern. Most meltdowns do not come from nowhere. They have a trigger. And most triggers have a pattern. Hunger, tiredness, overstimulation, transitions, the hour after nursery, the 20 minutes before dinner, the moment the routine shifts. Without warning, Emma started keeping a simple note on her phone. Every meltdown, the time, what had happened just before, how long Noah had been awake. Within 2 weeks, the pattern was completely clear. Almost every single explosion happened within 1 hour of his afternoon nap, when his blood sugar had dropped, and his tiredness had returned all at once. She put a small snack on the table. Every day, the moment he woke up, the meltdowns dropped by more than half in 2 weeks. She had not changed her parenting. She had changed the conditions. And changing the conditions changed everything. Emma still thinks about Patricia sometimes. The woman who sat down on the ground, next to a stranger in a car park without being asked. Who did not offer a tissue or a judgment, or a piece of advice wrapped in pity. Who just sat and waited, and then told the truth. She thinks about how close she came to never hearing it. How many more weeks she might have spent searching and failing and quietly convincing herself that she was the problem. That Noah was the problem. That something was fundamentally broken in one of them, or both of them, that could not be fixed. She thinks about all the parents who never get a Patricia, who never happen to be sitting on the right piece of ground, at the right moment, next to the right person, who carry the weight of not knowing. For months, or years, or forever. If you are one of those parents right now, if you are in the middle of what Emma was in the middle of, I need you to hear this directly and clearly. Your child is not broken, you are not failing. You are raising a small human being, with a brain that is still being assembled, piece by piece, day by day, in the middle of a world that is loud and fast, and full of feelings too enormous for such a small body to hold. And the fact that you are here, that you watched this, that you searched for answers, that you refused to give up, even on the days when giving up felt like the only reasonable option. That tells me everything I need to know about the kind of parent you are. You are exactly the parent your child needs. Keep going. I wrote this story because I kept thinking about how many parents are sitting exactly where Emma was sitting, on the floor of a car park, or a kitchen, or a bathroom at midnight, completely lost, and completely convinced that they are the problem. You are not the problem. I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments below. When Emma sat on that car park floor and cried, did that moment feel familiar to you? Have you ever had your own car park moment? A moment where everything just broke open, and you did not know how to put it back together. Just say yes. If nothing else, I read every single comment, and I will be here replying this week. And if you know a parent who is in the middle of their own 6 weeks right now, please share this with them today, not tomorrow. Today, because no parent should have to carry this alone